Hello, everybody. Welcome back, my podcast family. This is podcast number 10, and it is an absolute mind blower. I had Jeff Jagoe come on. He is one of the first people that I knew to get involved with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Now, in full disclosure, just as we had mentioned in the podcast, Jeff and I don't really run in the same circle. We don't, we're in the same community. But this was strictly based on the podcast. That I shot him a message and I said, "Listen, man, I know you're into this, and I've been, seeing your posts on social media for quite some time. Maybe you can come in and do this thing some justice and kind of talk about it a little bit because it's such a big thing right now. It's controlling a lot of investment conversation, of social media conversation. So it's just this big, massive thing that we're all starting to encounter, but not a lot of us can wrap our heads around it, especially not me. I was just feeling really crypto illiterate, and Jeff kind of came in and helped clear some things up and opened up some opportunities for the podcast as well. So now I know I'm posting everything on iTunes, and I will continue to do that. And I had stopped doing the video and stopped posting things to YouTube. That might change in the sense that we're might be moving to something called DTube. A lot of decentralized websites that are making it much easier to post content and to not be concerned about the censorship that we started to see on YouTube and all these different websites that are flagging content because they think it's offensive, and much of it is not offensive whatsoever. It's just a different opinion than what the mainstream, what these private companies would like to see on their platforms. Now, it's their companies, their rights to some degree. You're entering essentially into a contract when you're working with these websites. But Jeff came in and really opened my mind to a lot of these new opportunities, such as STEEM, D-Sound, D-Live, D-Tube. I think this is the future of the way we're transferring information and posting our content. And I think, just as Jeff said, a lot of these other companies are going to have to scramble to get their stuff together and figure out how to adjust. So be on the lookout for that. So I'll continue to post everything to iTunes and slowly be rolling into Steam it as well. And if you aren't familiar with it, get familiar with it, people. This is the future of the way we're communicating and of social media. So I had a great time doing this podcast. It's really an interesting one. Listen to it 3 times if you need to. It's got a lot of information, and Jeff's definitely going to be a regular on the podcast, probably monthly, to kind of cover crypto and see what's going on in that world. So definitely check this one out. Don't miss it. But to the business here. This podcast is brought to you by Advanced Auto Parts. For 75 years, Advanced Auto Parts has been supplying not only professional installers, but do-it-yourselfers as well. You're going to need to change your oil. You're going to need to get that new oil filter as well. You're going to need some windshield wiper blades. You're going to need all the stuff that you need. Springtime's coming around. Maybe you want to get the waxing material. That's the good stuff. That's the fun stuff. Everything else kind of just sucks. It's just routine. But cleaning that car, getting it waxed and polished and shined up for that nice spring coming around the corner, that's where it's at. So go to advancedautoparts.com/NickJ and receive 20% on your first order. This podcast is also brought to you by BarkBox. Anyone that's listened to any of my podcasts where I've been doing these ads knows that BarkBox is my favorite company, favorite concept right now, just because it's cute. It's a good thing. I just like it. It's like the Dollar Shave Club for dog owners. And, once a month, the same way that any of these other monthly subscriptions work, somebody comes knocking at your door and they have a bark box. So what's in it is 4 to 6 treats, and it has, all different. You can go on the website and you can gear your dog's bark box to any of their allergies. So if your dog can't have certain things, you can make sure that BarkBox isn't sending you any of those allergen-filled treats or toys or anything. And it gives you something to look forward to. It gives your dog something to look forward to every month. Your dog's going to love you, and you love your dog. So sign up, go to getbarkbox.com/NickJ and receive an additional free month for just using my link. That's getbarkbox.com/NickJ. This podcast, oh God, I felt that coming for a while. This podcast is also brought to you by Grasshopper. It's the entrepreneur's phone system. And this, I think, is a pretty cool concept, especially for people that are developing their business now. And it allows you to use not only a local number, but you could do a toll-free number. So if you want to get that 1-800 number and maybe pick some letters that are associate to your business to, get the last 7 digits of that phone number, you can set something up like that, or you could just set it up to a local number. And what this allows you to do, it creates a directory for your business. So if you want to have a customer service department, if you want to have a technical support, if you want to have a shipping and receiving division, and the truth of it is that it could all be you. And they could just have to hit that number 1, 2, or 3, and it gets directed to you. But it makes your business seem more organized, and it will actually organize your calls. So you'll know what call is coming in for what reason. Plans start as low as $12 a month, and I think it's a great concept for anyone that's just trying to structure the way they're handling their calls. Anyone that has a business knows that the solicitation calls throughout the day are a complete distraction, and you're receiving more of those realistically than you're receiving actual business calls. So this is a good way to organize what calls are coming in for what reason, and how do you want to go about picking up that phone. So go to trygrasshopper.com/NickJ and receive $50 towards your order. That's trygrasshopper.com/NickJ and receive $50 towards your first order. All right, that's it for the business. Now we're rolling right into this podcast. I hope you enjoy it. I'll talk to you soon, and I'll be seeing you on different platforms soon enough. Have a good day.
I'm just high off adrenaline, tripping over my brand. I'm the man who built this city, knowing how to work with Zen. I'm a different breed of human. Ask any soul that met me. I could change the way you think. All you gotta do is let me open your mind and let the new times flow in. They send the vibes and they tell the man to go in. I tell the people, don't you ever get confused. I could work to own the jets, but still don't got a thing to lose.
It's one life, yeah, and one day. It's one life, yeah, and one day. It's one life, yeah, and one day. One life, one day.
I sent you that list of questions, and that's just like the start of it. Because when I saw you with Max, the thing that like really captivated me was, and that's why I stopped listening to it right there, was when you said that you were at UConn and then you stopped, like you completely stopped. That is like, to me, like the fucking American dream.
My English teacher actually thought I died.
Really?
Yeah, actually, I knew a girl in class, and she was like, does anybody know where Jeff Jagoe went? He hasn't been in class in so many days. Is he alive? Like,
so, well,
I completely stopped going to class. It's bad.
You must have been a good student.
Waste of money.
Well, yeah, and you must have been doing good enough for them to notice. It's not like you were in the, the back of the class not doing anything. You must have been engaged. Yeah. So how so you just woke up one day and said, fuck it, I'm not going to class.
Not exactly. I just, I got really deep into Bitcoin. I found out about it sometime my first year at UConn when I was living in Busby. Sometime, I don't remember the exact moment where across the conversation, but we always, talk politics and stuff in the dorm room. And at one point found out about Bitcoin. It was the next year. I was living in a house. It was off campus, so, going back and forth to campus was a pain in the ass.
Right.
So I stayed at home on my computer, diving headfirst into cryptos, blockchain tech, and I definitely don't regret it.
So who turned you on to, because, well, what year was that? First, let's go to there. What year did that happen?
It was either late 2012 or early 2013.
So how long was it Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency and all of that? How long did it already exist prior to that? Do you know?
2009 is when
it all
Bitcoin
started.
existed. So it had a few years, but when I found out about it, it was about $37. So I remember that dollar amount. So if you look back on the charts and see when Bitcoin was $37, that's when I found out about it.
You can kind of pinpoint it that way.
Yeah.
So who turned you on to it? Was it somebody that put a bug in your ear?
So I was living with this kid, John Hudak, and he was working for Ron Paul's presidential campaign.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so he kind of Before that, I could admittedly say I was a neocon.
Right.
Like, I was big Republican, George Bush supporter. You
Okay.
know, like I was for the Iraq War and stuff. Obviously, things changed since then, but
Right.
basically, John Hudak taught me about anarchy and being free and stuff. And Bitcoin, basically, in the beginning, the only people who knew about it were people really into cryptography and tech,
Right.
and anarchists, people who wanted to
Just
get rid of government intervention.
Right, completely move off the U.S. dollar and everything associated with our current structure.
And now you're starting to see more mainstream people get into it, and that's great because they don't even realize what they're doing, but they're overthrowing the government
Right.
with,
Well,
with
yeah,
every purchase.
So you got it. Okay, so somebody, John said, kind of brought you into the whole thing. So I mean, he probably gave you at least the most basic understanding. So like, what was your next step? Just Google, figure everything out. Like,
So he got me into the anarchist mode, and with that came Bitcoin. I know that I could probably thank Jeff Berwick and the Dollar Vigilante for bringing Bitcoin around, because I was following him as an anarchist, and he's the one who was preaching Bitcoin since 2011. So
what was his spiel basically? Like, what did he see as the advantageous side of it? Like, and how did it become a thing in and of itself anyway?
So it's completely decentralized. It's basically on a distributed ledger, so anybody can see transactions happen publicly. So yeah, I'm shitting the bed right now, but
No, I mean, I know it's a tough thing to kind of wrap my head around anyway, because I think we're so used to like this private institution banking system where everything's private, and all these, you look at your bank statement, it's addressed to you, right? And all these interactions or transactions are just between you and the bank. But now you're looking at a currency and a monetary system that's completely open to the public. And in this ledger, if I'm understanding correctly, if Bitcoin's sold, it's there, right? Like, that's how that works, or is it?
So Bitcoin was the first ever blockchain technology. Blockchain is the backbone of the Bitcoin network. And now you're starting to see, there's thousands of cryptocurrencies out there, and they all have their own blockchain. So what it is a way of coming to a consensus, an agreement between everybody using the network. So basically, I send a transaction to you, and every single person on the network is confirming that it happened. And it's basically a way to provide trust and truth without having a central authority. Because when you have a central authority, that's your point of failure, That's where there could be fraud. That's where
Right.
something could go wrong.
And I think that's where a lot of distrust is built. When you have a broker or somebody in the middle of things, you're always questioning that person's legitimacy, what their end goal is, and how they're handling things. So the blockchain eliminates that part of it and brings it right directly to the people involved.
Yeah, so anybody running the Bitcoin core, or anybody running any client for any cryptocurrency, is confirming transactions. Well, actually, the miners are confirming transactions, but as long as you're running a node, you're part of the network, and you're part of being able to provide the agreement that these transactions took place between these people at this time.
So this is completely revolutionary in all terms of how we handle currency and just everything we know about anything.
And as you see, all the big financial giants, the companies, they're diving headfirst into it. They know that they need to get into it, or else they're dinosaurs. They need to move this way.
Yeah, they need to adapt.
Like, for instance, Bank of America, they've filed more patents on cryptocurrency than any company or any person ever.
So how does Bank of America filing patents, what does that do to Bitcoin or cryptocurrency itself? I mean, obviously, I know that enables the bank to have some way of handling it, but does it damage Bitcoin?
It only legitimizes it just because it shows that there's these financial institutions looking into it, and
Right.
trying to get their foot in the ground, you know. And then you got Bloomberg the other day, just the beginning of February, they purchased the Twitter handle Crypto. I don't know how much they
Holy
paid
shit.
for it, but they bought it. And Bloomberg's
All
a
right,
pretty
so
big player
if
on the
Bloomberg,
financial.
if Michael Bloomberg is buying at crypto,
Yeah, that's
it means a lot.
it does.
So you said something about the miners, and you can totally correct me if I'm wrong here, but I remember when I first started hearing about Bitcoin, it was because of you. And for full disclosure, Jeff and I, like, literally, this is the first time I've probably really sat down and talked to you, like, ever.
Yeah.
Like, we're from the same community, we know the same people, but this was me. I've known that Jeff has been involved in this strictly through social media, like just seeing all your posts and that. So this podcast happened because I was like, shit, I want to figure this out. I think you're the number one guy. I recently had somebody come on to talk about crypto, and no disrespect to Jay, who's talking about it. He's very early into it now, and I think he's just really just getting his basic understanding and his bearings. So I wanted to get to somebody that I see as an expert, and I think you're that guy. But
Full disclosure, I'm not an expert, and no one is.
Yeah.
If somebody's telling you they're an expert in the crypto field, they're lying to you.
That's a good point. So when I had noticed, and again, this is what I was saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were you mining Bitcoin? Because I remember a picture or something a long time ago. I can't even put a date that had some screens, some monitors, or something.
So I don't mine with any external GPU mining rig or anything, but I do like CPU mining with old laptops and stuff.
Right.
It doesn't bring in a lot, but I mean, it brings in more than the laptop's worth over time.
So when you initially started it, you said it was worth, how much did you say?
37 bucks.
37?
My first purchase was like $70. So there was a little while between the time I found out about it and before I decided to buy some.
So were you able, in that time when you initially started mining, were you were able to earn Bitcoins or however that works through your process?
So I've never mined for Bitcoin.
Okay.
I've mined for altcoins,
All right.
like Dogecoin
Yeah, I've heard some of these names.
and Monero. Some other they're alternate cryptos, and honestly, it's more profitable to mine for them and then trade for Bitcoin.
All right. So is that like a buy low, sell high kind of concept? Because these altcoins are just cheaper to mine for in and of itself.
Yeah, because basically right now, if you mine for Bitcoin, the chances of ever getting Bitcoin is very low.
Right.
And mining for altcoin, you're guaranteed to get something, and you can trade those for Bitcoins.
So
There's always markets. It's great.
right. So so I'm still trying to, like, I really feel like I'm a dummy with all this stuff because
Don't feel that way. If you know about it, you're not a dummy at all. Because
it's
there's
true.
some
At least
people who
you're
have no idea.
right. I'm in the know. I'm aware of it. So I'm trying to understand how the blockchain and just really wrap my head around all these different currencies that are coming. So Bitcoin is it like the gold standard to these other cryptocurrencies?
It almost is. It's working that way right now. You kind of see when Bitcoin goes up, the whole crypto market goes up. When Bitcoin goes down, it goes down.
Right. So Bitcoin is one of the bigger currencies. There's other currencies that are developing in this crypto market.
Like most of the way you could get into the other cryptos, you have to buy Bitcoin first because there's not many gateways with fiat currency to like random altcoins compared to Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin has the most gateways from cash to Bitcoin, you know?
Right. We were just talking earlier about the Square Cash. So that's making it easier for people to even get in the Bitcoin game, I guess you want to call it. And then they're able to do more transactions and work their way into the market more deeply. So, I mean, so you're, to me, on the cutting edge of a newer technology, of a newer currency. I mean, so it begs the question to me, are you more driven towards wealth, or is this like how are you, like,
It's almost just a side effect of the whole thing. Basically, the reason why I found out about Bitcoin was being an anarchist and wanting to find financial freedom away from, when you put money in a bank, they give you interest.
Yeah.
that interest isn't real. You're losing money over time because they're printing fake dollars. Like
Right.
your dollar is just a piece of paper,
Yeah.
and they print as many as they want, and it devalues all the ones that you have in your bank.
Exactly. I was just going to say the interest doesn't compensate for the devaluation of the dollar over time.
Exactly. I saw this as a deflationary currency. There's a set 21 million or so Bitcoins that will ever be in existence. And once that comes out, who knows how much one Bitcoin will be, because it's spread out on a world population, not just one nation. That's another thing. I think that having a currency that could go cross borders freely without having to be transferred into another currency.
That's very true. I mean, yeah, and that's like a big hiccup for a lot of people that do want to travel. What is their currency exchange? What money are they losing by going one place to another?
Yeah, you lose 15% of your value when you just want to travel,
Right?
Because you have to trade it.
So Bitcoin is just a universal.
It cuts out the financial middleman. It cuts out the third-party services that just make money on transactions.
So, in my honest opinion, like when I saw all this start to unravel and become something, and to me, like that picture that I remember seeing that of something that you posted, and it could have been you, it could have been somebody else. I'm almost certain it was you. Made me like, because in my mind, I naturally thought, okay, this can only last so long, right? The United States government, some government's going to step in and start to regulate it. So every time something's unregulated, that's when it does its best, right? And then anytime the government gets concerned about what's going to happen, they step in and they start to regulate it. I thought for sure this thing would have been dead and gone and disregarded and thrown by the wayside by now. So when I saw that you were like getting into this, I thought to myself, well, is it just another bubble? Is it just another thing that's another fad? But it's still here.
So it's almost one of those things that, as much as they want to regulate it and try to, they can't truly regulate it because there's really nothing they can do. Right now, they're trying to make examples of people. I'm not sure. This guy, Nodemaster, recently just got arrested for a transaction that he had from localbitcoins.com, which is when you go and make a transaction with a person physically, hand them cash, give them Bitcoins. Mm-hmm. And he recently was in jail for 5 days or so for a transaction he made in 2016. I guess it was probably with someone undercover working for the feds.
Holy shit.
But yeah, they're cracking down and they're trying to make examples of people because they see it as a threat to themselves.
It absolutely is. I mean, the United States has controlled, I think, money on a universal scale. I mean, that's obviously debatable. Countries have their own currency, but everyone's focused usually on the U.S. dollar. And any time that something can come in the way of that, like that's why I thought that this whole thing, the whole conglomerate would have been shut down and made illegal and, considered another risk to the economy. Because I think any time anything becomes overly profitable, that's usually what the government says, is that it's a risk to the economy. We need to regulate it.
You see other countries like South Korea and China stepping in, making major regulations, like basically saying you can't use any. China saying you can't use any foreign websites, cryptocurrency websites, if you're in China.
So you have to stay within China's website,
and that's all mainstream news article FUD. That's people. I think that's people trying to lower the price of Bitcoin, get their stake, and then.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, and that's what's crazy to me about markets in general is the way that everything's predicated on the news, right? And to me, like, I could have a whole different conversation about the news and the way it controls society and the way it controls, literally a stock price, because that's what I'm familiar with, is just small company stocks and things like that. That a press release drives the stock up or it drives it all the way down into the ground. And the same thing is what I'm seeing happening with Bitcoin. Is, if I'm not mistaken, somebody had said something to me about India, that they recently cracked down on their regulations. Yep. And that had a big impact on the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah, you'll see it go down that day. The headlines make it, but I mean, over time, I think we're going to see new all-time highs for sure. Like, it's just a matter of time.
So I mean, obviously, like we fully disclose, no one's an expert on this. Where do you see it going? Like, what do you think a high is for it in the next, say, 10 years? I mean,
10 years is a long time. I mean, Bitcoin is not even 10 years old. It's already made it to 20,000.
All right. Maybe let's notch it down.
So
maybe 5 years or something.
2020, I could see a Bitcoin at $300,000 a pop.
Wow.
Ethereum, say $20,000 a pop.
So what's Ethereum at now?
Ethereum's pushing 1,000. It's like 950 right now, and it's been like 1,200 at some point.
So if somebody were to get into oh, you got the T-shirt and everything,
Got
man.
the Ethereum shirt on right now.
So all right, so what's that logo? Like what's
Well, this is actually a Pink Floyd
Yeah,
album
yeah.
cover with the Ethereum logo, but
did you design that yourself?
no, I just got it on Amazon.
pretty cool.
Whoever made that, thank you very much. It's a nice shirt.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. So I heard the same guy Jay that I had on. He said that Ethereum is probably the way to get involved now. Would you agree with that?
Ethereum's a good one, I'd say. There's a lot of ICOs that are launching on the Ethereum platform. They definitely have a scaling issue when it comes to the amount of people that are using the network and the capacity the network has to run.
Right.
So they're working on it. Vitalik is the developer. He's working on scaling Ethereum, but there's definitely has some improvements it needs in order
To hit the
to
main-
live,
right?
You know,
and
in order
really-
to, because this summer there's a new project I'm really big on. It's called EOS.io. It's made by Dan Larimer. Dan Larimer is the creator of BitShares and STEEM, and he recently moved on to creating EOS, and it's basically a decentralized environment where anybody who creates apps, they don't have to know specific code for cryptos. Like for example, if you want to start creating anything on the Ethereum platform, you need to basically learn a set code that is specific to Ethereum. But EOS, you could just start developing. So it's going to open up the world
Yeah.
to decentralized applications.
As you're saying these things, I'm trying to break it down.
And honestly, I'm not the most technical savvy
man,
person. I don't.
yeah.
Compared to most people in the industry, I'm not. I just got to put that out there.
And I'm trying to think of a way to like make an analogy to something like that people, because I think most of the people that are listening have probably no clue what any of this is. You know what I mean? So it seems like that's allowing the same way that you can go onto a website to design your own website with like a drag and drop kind of thing without knowing coding. Is that a good way to kind of relate it? Or is that doing it a disservice?
No, it's more like that's kind of how to relate Steam. Like you could start making website out of Steam, your own blog. But EOS is more of you have to know how to code. But as long as you know how to code, you can start coding on the EOS environment and creating decentralized apps.
Okay.
But
So what is...
then again, I really don't know too much.
Yeah, no,
technical
that's all right.
All I know is right now you're seeing like an arms race in the crypto industry.
Well, that's what it all like, and that's what makes it entertaining to me to kind of like tune in a little bit here and there and search something and figure out, because it is very exciting. Like this is completely new to the developers, to everyone involved, to the public, and at large, and to watch it grow and see, like, because I'll search and I'll see a headline, this thing, like, and to me, I'm just trying to track down like, where's the terminology come from? Because even all the words, it's just not, we're not familiar with the language yet, let alone the currency and how it all works. So I think this is going to be like a dramatic evolution for us in even the way we speak, the way we talk about things in with regarding social media, with investments. It's going to completely change our culture. And that, I think, goes to show like the bigger impact that this thing's going to have on all of us. So it's unavoidable. You could try to avoid it. You could try to run from it now and play dumb and say, oh, it's nothing big. But in 5, 10, 20 years, this is going to be the language we're speaking.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. And anybody listening to this, I advise it'd be very wise to take some time out of your day to research blockchain tech, cryptocurrencies, just anything involving cryptocurrencies. Learn about it, read about it. There's a lot to read out there.
Yeah, and I think that's like a lot of us, especially me, like I run into things head on, right? So I'll see a money making opportunity, and it's hard not to. I think that's in our nature to kind of just punch it and go for it and see what happens. But with any of these investments, there's obviously risk involved. I mean, none of these things are foolproof. That goes for any simple stock investment, any crypto investment. You have to be willing to invest what you're willing to lose. So don't just go in thinking all these positive things.
Yeah, no, I could
Be
agree
aware.
with that
Yeah.
for sure.
So listen, man, I want to know, like, I'm not going to ask you the most uncomfortable question in the world, but you started at this thing at around $37. Like, you were an early guy to this whole thing. How has this changed your life? What has it enabled you to do? Especially, so I mean, because the listeners are hearing somebody that did the big fucking Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg move of dropping out of, essentially you signed out of college and ran and took this thing and ran with it. And to me, like, that's admirable as fuck. Like, that's the American dream. So where has that risk, what made you feel comfortable taking that risk in the first place? And how has it all panned out?
So they gave me a field to focus on, which is good.
That is
gave me
good.
something to look for, something to spend my time on, but I mean, I'll fully disclose I work a full-time job still.
All right, so it's not, yeah.
I'm not yet completely free from the 9 to 5 job yet,
Right.
but hopefully soon. But
No, all right. So I mean, that's a good gauge, because seeing these crazy numbers, like it's 16,000. Did it at one point hit like 20,000?
it hit 20,000, and I can see it going well over that soon.
So all right, yeah, because in my mind, I'm like, shit, dude. Like, what did Jeff maybe cash out on? But like, I don't want to know. It's completely
it's
your
just like
business.
saying, hey, how much do you have in your bank account?
Exactly,
right now,
and I would never ask you that. But
And I get that question all the time, like, how much Bitcoins do you have? How much money do you have? And I get appalled when
dude, none of my business. I would never
it's
want to
crazy.
know. It's just intriguing, because it's like you took the biggest risk that most people would be
Let's
like.
just say I didn't get nearly as much as I should have.
All right, so that's fair
Not
enough.
nearly enough. Like,
Right.
I couldn't convince anybody close to me that it was a good idea to, invest. And I didn't really have capital at the time. I was a broke college student.
Right.
So I decided to quit my job and put in whatever excess funds I make during the week into it. And that worked great for me, but I did not make what I needed to.
So it sounds like, right. So you're somebody that's got to be frustrating, man, because you saw it.
There's no excuse why I don't have millions of dollars.
Yeah,
right now.
there's but it's not that there's no excuse. Dude, this is like, I think the fundamental struggle, like, for somebody that noticed something early, that couldn't, like, I feel like this is like the biggest success story at the end, because nobody noticed what was going on. You picked up on it. You tried to get people close to you, family, friends, whoever, either to invest on your behalf or to invest on their own. And people are that, like me, that saw this, were like, oh, I don't know what the fuck it is. It doesn't make sense to me. It can't do anything. And you just, you ran with it, man. You went to work and invested what you could. Like, there's nothing else you could have done, right? So to me, there's not that there's no excuse why you shouldn't have X amount of money. This is just what the process is for you. And I think that's more important than having the $1 million, because this is, again, cutting edge, new kind of a way of a different language that you were able to decode and understand before the rest of the world really could. So that, to me, is more valuable, and I'm saying this in jest, than any financial thing, because to me that means you're in tune. You're able to catch on to the next thing. So maybe you didn't get what you should have now, but that's not to say in the next 5-10 years you're not going to do triple what you could have if you had the right scenario for this. I mean, so I don't know if that's any optimism that
Yeah, no, I like that. That's great to hear.
It's just my way of kind of thinking, because, like I said, to me, like, and I think, like most people think that they kind of know, right? So most people think that they fucking know. So, and no matter what it is. So when I saw this, I was like, no big deal, whatever, who cares? I think you're headed in
So should we move on to the next thing? Steam.
Steam.
I think Steam is the next thing. Well, if it's not Steam, it's something of the sort, because basically it's a blockchain that introduces people who don't have any familiarity to cryptocurrencies, but it introduces them to cryptos in a way that gives them something that they are familiar with, such as social media.
Right.
So basically, Steam is a blockchain that can handle thousands of transactions per second. To put that into perspective, Bitcoin could only handle 10, 15.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So Steam could handle much more transactions per second, and that's what the arms race in the crypto industry is. How many transactions can you give in a matter of time? Because
Right.
on a global scale, there's going to be thousands of transactions going off at a time. You know, you need to be able to handle those on a network.
Right.
But Steam is one of those created by Dan Larimer, and I believe that it's a future because it introduces people to cryptos if they don't know anything about them, and it gives them a way to make them and start bringing in cryptos without having to invest their own cash. They could just start doing things that they already did. So people who post things on Instagram and YouTube start posting things on the Steam blockchain instead and start monetizing it.
So when you post something on the Steam blockchain, it automatically becomes monetized. So it's not
necessarily automatically. You could post something and get $0.
right. No, yeah, I get
it's
that.
monetizable.
Right,
Yeah.
That's a good way. Okay,
It's tokenized.
Okay.
Tokenized is the good word for it because that's exactly what Steam's doing. It's tokenizing the internet. Any content creation is now, you can earn tokens,
right.
which are valuable.
So we could upload the audio onto Steam, or was that the other one?
Oh, it's going.
Yeah.
It'll be there.
All right. I'm interested to see
What's
what
going on,
happens.
Steam friends?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got to make some Steam friends here.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is actually, all right. So your podcast number 10. All right. So now we're in double digits. That's a movement for me. We're moving, but this is going to be on Steam. So this could be
That's
a
great. You gotta
revolutionary.
post the other 9.
Yeah. I got to move them in. This could be a big move for the podcast itself. So I appreciate you bringing all this to me. I mean, I had no idea. Like, I would see you post the Steam It stuff on Facebook, and I didn't fully understand what it meant. And then, I saw a part of that video with Max where it was able to monetize some of it, and you didn't make any money. I think that's about where I ended it. So literally anything, any content that most people, like you just said, where they would post their videos on YouTube, and we were having this discussion right before we started that YouTube is really strict now on what they're allowing to be monetized, and there's a lot of reports that people are being segregated. If you're conservative, you can't have certain things being said. So it's really kind of taken away the independence to post anything. So what do you think that YouTube ripple effect will have for these other websites?
Well, so you're seeing YouTube censor, like people in the liberty movement, they're taking money away because these people were literally making money on their videos.
Right.
And so they're trying to find a new answer, and DTube came along and said, hey, listen, this is a decentralized YouTube. You could post your videos here. No one could ever tell you to take it down. No one could ever physically take it down. It's going to be here forever. And basically you could monetize it. Essentially right now you're seeing big names start to move over from YouTube to DTube.
Who so far?
I'm trying to think of their names because I'd never watched them before, but right now you got Jeff Berwick, Adam Kokesh. They're people I'm familiar with.
Right.
The Hodge twins, I think their name is.
Not familiar with them.
Apparently they have 5 million YouTube followers, and that's
Holy
huge.
shit.
Like, because Steam right now doesn't even have one. I'm not sure if they have 1 million users yet. We're getting to that point, but in putting that into perspective, like 1 million users is nothing compared to like what Facebook has and what Instagram has.
That's
Right now we're in a beginning point, and it's a good get there.
Yeah,
because
that's a baby
The
right
early
now.
adopters are gonna really benefit in the long
I
run.
gotta start making moves here, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll get you set up after this.
That's awesome. All right, so you said there was DTube, so then also D-Sound. You had mentioned that.
D-Sound, D-Live.
So D-Sound is like the sound.
So D-Sound is like SoundCloud, but decentralized. Post your music, post podcasts, whatever you make.
Is there a limit? Because I was doing SoundCloud, YouTube, all that for a while, and then you had to pay a certain amount of money to upload a certain amount of content. Is that the same way with D-Live, or you could upload?
You can upload as much as you want.
So within your account, there's no limit.
There may be a file limit, size limit, like
Per upload.
But
Right.
there's no limit on what you can upload and how much you can.
That's fucking awesome.
It is. That's these companies like SoundCloud and Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg himself. They're scrambling. They see this. They see it. They know it's there. Mark Zuckerberg right now is thinking of how he could tokenize Facebook.
Wow.
But
Dude, that it makes me happy because like companies like that, I feel like have had a stranglehold on society for a while now, and the way we communicate. And I think they've done great things for society at large. But I also think that they have an ability to have a really big negative effect. And I think a lot of that comes to censoring things and being the authoritative figure that could say this isn't permitted. You know, you
the
can't.
algorithms they put out there for what you can see, like
Right.
they tweak what you see. They try to
Yeah.
fuck with you.
Yeah, so like the whole news feed thing, I don't know, like I feel like one day I woke up and my news feed wasn't the same, and it wasn't an update or anything like that. It was just what the content that I was seeing was not the same that it was before. So something happened. They probably updated something along the lines, but
The craziest is when you're talking about something in real life
That's
and then you
fucking
go
weird.
see an ad and it's like, what the hell? I've never searched this. I've
Yeah.
never done anything, but I just said the words. They're listening, like
how does like
how the hell does that happen?
right. And how do they get away with that? Like
Yeah,
for all the
I don't
things that we're not able to get away with, like certain transactions regarding cryptocurrency, somebody's listening in and we're getting pinched for that. But we can't have any that's what bothers me about these big massive companies that are steering society, because it's not like it's a Kleenex or something like that. It's literally where we spend most of our times. If you look at somebody 9 times out of 10, they're looking down at their phone and they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram.
Soon they'll be on Steam it.
I want to be like one of those. I don't know what I'm going to be, one of the first 1.5 million or whatever on there.
Yeah, first million.
That's awesome, man. And so are they? So they're already in an app formation. Are they strictly like a website right now?
So essentially, there is no they. That's the best part about it. There is no they. It's a Steam blockchain. It's just some decentralized thing that was created by Dan Larimer and his team back in the day. He completely left the project, started moving on to EOS. That's what he's doing now. Ned Scott is the CEO of STEEMit. STEEMit is a company that basically has a hold on the Steam blockchain as the main platform, the main social network of the Steam blockchain. But they're a company. They're not decentralized. They're centralized.
Right.
Steemit.com is a centralized company on the Steam blockchain. And then DTube is just created by this guy, Hyman Danger, who was a Steemit user.
Is that a real name?
That's his Steam name.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Yeah. So he created, yeah. he created DTube just as a Steam user.
Right.
He said, "This is what we need. We need a video platform
You made a
on this
damn good
network."
call.
And so now you're seeing everything come out, like steepshot.io, which is an Instagram interface on the Steam platform, and then you got ChainBB created by Jesta, which is it's almost like Reddit forum,
Right.
like.
Yep.
Then you got decentmemes.com, which is created by Netuoso, and that is a meme platform where you create it's got pictures, you put a couple words on top, words on bottom, and you post a meme real quick to the
So
Steam
you can
blockchain.
make money off posting memes.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, I
it's
know
great.
so many people that would be fucking millionaires right now.
Get them on the Steam platform.
That's crazy.
It's great.
So, all right, so yeah, the Facebook really has something to figure out, because we're just posting a bunch of shit that people aren't seeing, right? The algorithms are allowing only certain people to do whatever, like whatever the conspiracy that is behind it. I think it's all true. But now there's networks, there's things being set up where you're monetizing just the shit that you would have posted on Facebook anyway.
You control your feed 100% on who you follow. I mean, I definitely think that there could be some changes made. There could be someone who creates the ability for like multi-feeds. Like, so you could create, all right, I want to follow this people in these categories,
Right.
this people in this category. So right now, you have a feed and it's all, all your followers show up, kind of like Twitter.
Yeah.
But I mean, Twitter has an algorithm now, but this is just timeline, the posts of the people you follow
Right.
in order.
And I think Instagram just recently started something where you can now follow the hashtag. So, I mean, that's even kind of new to these bigger platforms. So for Steemit or any of these other, networks to be able to do that, I mean, they're going to, they're going to have to, but still, it's still early into that whole thing of just following the things in general that you're interested in. So is Steemit itself an app? Like, I'm trying to figure out the usability
So
of.
Steemit is an app
Right.
on the Steam platform or on the Steam blockchain.
So could I go? Is that available in like the iOS Apple Store, or how do you?
So Steemit is working on like an iOS app and like a Google Play or whatever.
Okay, so
But right now they don't have a mobile app. Right now you could get Steep Shot as a Google Play app store. That's the Instagram
Yep.
style. And you get eSteam, which is created by just a Steam user named Good Karma. And that is basically Steam It on, well, it's not Steam It but it's basically Steam. You know, you
Right.
get all the posts from your Steam accounts on your phone through eSteam, but it's not Steam It because Steam It's just a company that uses the
Right.
Steam blockchain.
Holy shit, man! There's a lot of little
It's crazy.
intricacies here,
It's
but
crazy.
dude, it's like the changing, yeah, it's the changing of the world. Like to me, it's always we're just so used to the American dollar and just doing everything in just this I don't know, like this just repetitive fashion. Like what do you think about our fascination with money and wealth in general? I mean, because this is coming kind of from a obviously Bitcoin's a currency. It's really developing off of money. So what do you think? What do you think about just us in general as human beings and the way we have our fascination with wealth and all that?
Well, I don't think that's going away anytime soon.
Definitely not.
But I think that the way we hold our money is just going to get better because we'll have complete control of our own wealth. Right now, we don't really own the money we make. We have to give, I don't know how much, 30, 50% away every time we earn it. And then the good thing is if we were to be putting governments, if we were to completely move to like cryptocurrencies and blockchain and get fiat out of there, governments would be on it too, which means we'd be paying our taxes with cryptos, which means it would be on a ledger. We'd be able to see where they use it.
Oh shit!
So like that's one thing that you could look forward to in the future is being able to see where
Accountability.
Yeah, accountability is huge with cryptocurrencies. It's public ledger. You know, you see where the money goes.
Yeah, and I think accountability with government spending is something that, for those who really pay attention, and I mean, you know, you could tell by my wall here, and I know you said you watched at least one of my YouTube videos, and when I was doing that, I'm definitely a conservative, and I'm really more conservative in the fiscal sense. You know, I don't really care. I think I'm more of a libertarian. That's really what I've come to realize. But I think as far as spending goes,
That's
and
where it starts.
think-
You start as a conservative, and then you realize, holy shit, what
yeah.
the fuck? Government's all fucking scam.
And dude,
you
it's
know
been
what?
this past 2 weeks that I'd been beating my head against the wall, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like questioning myself because, like, I wanted Ted Cruz to win the election. That was my guy because I think he was a legitimate conservative across the board, and I was just thinking about this past election, and then I got into a little debate, you could say, with somebody about the tax plan, which admittedly I'm not an expert in any of this shit. You know what I mean? So I know a little bit about it. But I was having a conversation with somebody about the tax plan, and they were a complete anti-Trumper. And this person was actually their claim is that, yeah, we'll get more money back in our paycheck now, but she had spoken to her accountant, come tax time the following year, she was going to be fucked or something like that. But what amazed me wasn't what she was saying, wasn't our interaction, was her excitement to say something that indicated that something Trump did was wrong while she was still going to get fucked at the end of it, right? So this triggered this whole thing, and I know I'm getting a little off topic here.
No, that's taxation's theft. But
Yeah, but what triggered in my head was that this individual, we're all just so fixated on the other side in whatever party we're fucking against, and this person's better than that one, and if only Hillary got elected, or if only this person got elected. Like, we're all fucking kidding ourselves to think that one individual is actually going to change an entirely corrupt system across the board. That's what amazed me, and to see the excitement, even though this individual was still, in their mind, getting fucked, but it indicated that the person they didn't like was doing something wrong. And I was like, what part of your brain is fucking ignited at that moment to literally look at something with such hate but get excited? Like, it just made me think our entire way of viewing the political system.
the two-party system's real bad.
It's terrible.
It's bad.
And
it just creates like a me versus you, or my team versus your team, which is just the complete wrong way. You got to be thinking clear. You can't
Right.
be thinking, groups. It's just got to be this is right and this is wrong.
Yeah, and like we've lost that. We've completely lost it, and we've completely gone into identity politics. And that's something that's just, to me, it like we've worked all these years to be for equality, right? That's always been the thing. And I mean, and I'm not trying to bash one side of the argument here, but it seems to me that the left, the people that are constantly preaching equality, are the same people that are constantly dividing themselves into different factions, into different identities, and they're actually segregating themselves from society in order to create this this outrage culture or this some benefit to them.
I see that for sure. Yeah.
What do you like? What are your thoughts on it? All in all, like I know, like two guys doing a podcast having a beer can't fix any of this, right? Like we can only discuss it and figure out what the hell is going on. But what do you think? Like, do you think that this cryptocurrency, this whole blockchain thing, this whole way of thinking, right? Because this is, like I said, a different language. It's a different way of operating throughout your daily life. Do you think that this is something that could bring that whole divide together?
I really, really think it is, because, like, for instance, STEEM is one of the. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. STEEM is one of the biggest blockchains right there, doing big things. It's got a lot of utility. And there's people around the world, for instance, when I post this, I'm going to have friends from Venezuela posting comments on it and saying, hey, nice video.
Right.
And, that's crazy. There's people around the world using this, and it brings people together in that sense. People are talking from other countries and communicating in one platform. For instance, your Facebook, it's just your friends.
Right.
And well, I mean, I guess there's platforms like YouTube and Twitter where you're with everybody in the world, but
Yeah, but there's still a way to.
It's not the same. Steam, the stuff I see on Steam, the way people come together and just like discuss cultures and discuss ideas, it's a crazy environment, and I can't wait to have you there.
Well, I'm excited about being there, and it's all right. So I just had a little thought come across here. So I was listening to. I already forgot. I was listening to a podcast, and it was talking about somebody that was initially on the internet when it really was just forums, right? So way back before like the big .com boom, where the internet was just kind of a way of like sending essentially emails but shorter. And I guess that's the way the internet existed. This was all news to me, and that like throughout this whole thing, these people would just go on, and it was just like these forums where they would speak, and they would really just start to roast each other. Like that was the message that I got from this podcast, that people would go on to forums in the same way you watch a Comedy Central roast. This is what everybody was just doing to each other, all friendly, all just kind of talking shit
Like
to each other.
4chan.
Yes, right. So that's where that evolved into, and what I'm seeing now, and just from what you're saying, to me seems like the beginning of something huge, right? Because that was the beginning of the internet. That was the beginning of the same platform, the same ability that allows us to go on to YouTube, to go on to Facebook. Now you're on that in a different way. Like you're at the beginning of something else.
Yeah, so I was only 4 years old in 1996 when the .com boom was going off.
Yep.
So I don't really remember it at all. I mean, I was one of the first on AOL and AIM and all that bullshit, but I was recently talking to this guy, Reinhard Schmidt. He's an artist from Germany. He's a great artist. Check him out. It's great. But he was talking about how he sees Steam as just like the early days of the internet. It's just a whole new internet.
Right.
It's Internet 2.0. It's a tokenized internet, because every facet of the internet can now be on a blockchain. From any website you see could be made onto the Steam blockchain and monetized.
Right. So what do you think, just another thought that came across here. I've been hearing a lot about people, and again, I'm going political and kind of bouncing back in between. I've been hearing people talk about this need for universal basic income, right? That's kind of the new socialist way of moving towards things. And they think that everyone's entitled to this, some amount to cover your basic bills, and that will increase your lifestyle and your ability to do things and spend time with your family. In theory, it sounds like a perfect idea, right? But I know the way these things go awry, and when the government has control over your basic income, and that you're literally, it turns into a dictatorship at some point. That's where I see that going. But I'm starting to see that everything that you're talking about is the part of the cure for all these other little things, all these other little problems we have, because people are spending all their time on these social media apps anyway. You're able to monetize every little thing that you do. That could become your universal basic income in some way or another.
In a sense, but then there's this other thing. It's funny you bring up universal basic income because I'm fairly new to the idea of it, but I found out about it 2 weeks ago when I stumbled across a cryptocurrency called Swift Demand.
Okay.
And, well, Swift, basically.
Right.
And you sign up, and you start receiving Swift tokens, 100 Swift tokens every day for the rest of your life. It's an experiment of universal income as a cryptocurrency.
Holy shit.
So basically, right now, Swift tokens are worth nothing, you
Right.
know? But maybe, and there's a built-in market where you could start selling things for Swift tokens. No one really sells anything now because there's no use for a Swift token. But
Right.
eventually, like maybe someday, that's going to be worth something. I mean, obviously, it's far-fetched, but
Yeah.
it's just an experiment on universal basic income. And
It's a good twist on it.
Yeah.
It's better than just the government.
there's no government involved. It's
That's-
just a decentralized. You sign up, you get 100 cryptos called
Right.
Swift tokens every day. You don't have to go get them every day. You could go 30 days and then go pick up 3,000 of them or
Right.
whatever. But
That's it's interesting to me that, like, when I hear about all these things, and then we add the word decentralized to me, I'm much more comfortable with it, because, like, in theory, you're saying the same thing, just saying, oh, it's decentralized, right? And most people would say, okay, well, then what's the difference if the government? I am just a government fearing individual because I do not like that control over anything, and it involves corruption. All these people that we vote for, that's what I was arriving at this over the past 2 weeks. It's just like all these fucking people we vote for, they're in somebody else's pocket, or somebody else has them in their pocket, and it's just this never-ending circle of corrupt and then divisive action. So it just continues the cycle of putting these people into place. When something's decentralized, it's broken away from that stranglehold, that tie to all of that same process. So I think that it could have a good effect on us. I don't know how this whole
definitely.
Swift thing, universal basic income, will work out. No one really does.
Yeah, that probably won't go anywhere, but it's just fun. It's
It
a little
could.
experiment. But when it comes to, politicians and all that, I think that I personally gave up on voting. I don't vote anymore because I don't want to participate in their games. No matter who you vote for, it doesn't matter.
So you don't even vote third party now?
I don't. I haven't. Not in the past few years, but
I don't like it.
I'd vote for Adam Kokesh if he was on my ballot. But
I got to do some research on him.
he's a good guy. He's a ex Marine, libertarian, anarchist. He's a good guy. He wrote a book called Freedom. It's got a copy
check
if you
it out.
want it. It's actually free online. But
So what do you think about anarchy? I mean, obviously you've moved towards anarchy, and I don't fully understand. I mean, what the political entity of anarchy really is. I mean, we hear the word thrown around in sentences like, something crazy happened out somewhere on the streets, and it was anarchy. It was nuts.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. People see it as a crazy term, like as a bad thing. But
Yeah. So what is it? What is anarchy in your understanding of it?
it's freedom. It's voluntarism. I like the word voluntarism better because
that.
people don't see that as a crazy, go out on the streets and throw cars around and
Right,
stuff.
rioting,
yeah,
essentially.
that's what people see anarchy
Yeah.
as. But voluntarism is a great word. It's follow the golden rule. Do as to others is what you want to do. As long as you're not infringing on somebody else, you could do it. And in that, that's. You could do as many drugs as you want as long as you're not harming anybody else.
Listen, I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. I think
Not
that
that I'm a druggie. I'm just saying, I think that the ability to do what you want is the sole purpose of anarchy.
yeah, and the problem is that, I mean, like, as somebody that holds religious views and stuff like that, I think that's when things become convoluted with the way we handle our government, because people have their principles and their values or their religious beliefs, and I think that makes them fearful of the society that we would become if those kinds of things, that freedom was in place. But to me, it just says live your own life, right? Because if that's the way you feel, then okay, then stay away from those things, those vices, whatever you refer to them, stay away from them and live your life in your own way, in the way you see you should, and not, like you said, infringe on the way everybody else should want to live their life. And that's all I see in politics now, is just this push one way or another, doesn't matter, right, left, center, of this is how it should be. Let's steer our culture this way. I think we need to just be able to be ourselves and have our own land and our own place to be ourselves.
And as long as you're not harming your neighbor or anybody else, you're fine.
Yeah, none of it should matter.
No one should come and infringe upon you. But like right now, if I wasn't here right now, if I could be one place in the world, it would be Acapulco, Mexico. And that is right now, it's called Anarchapulco. It's the biggest anarchy festival, international festival in the world.
Oh shit! So what is it, like a weekend thing?
I don't know exactly how long, probably 4 or 5 days, but sponsored by Jeff Berwick of the Dollar Vigilante. He it's I want to say it's 3-4 years now that he's held it, but Ron Paul's speaking there. There's a lot of big names. Luke We Are Change. A lot of the friends that I met from STEAM Fest. I went to STEAM Fest in Lisbon and met up with a lot of big, developers, prominent people on the Steam platform. There's a lot of them that are down there in Acapulco right now. And it just shows you that the liberty movement is alive and well. There's a festival right now with hundreds of anarchists from around the world talking, seeing what they could do. And they're all together right now. And I wish I could be there.
And I hate to say it, that I would have never known about this if you weren't sitting across the table from me right now, because you would never turn on the news and hear about that. You're going to turn on, and I hate to say it, like you're going to turn on the news and hear about the Florida shooting. That's all you're going to hear about.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It is, and that's what.
And if it's not that, it's something else that's completely fucked up and sad, or like.
So, what are your thoughts on the media in and of, like, what do you think about the way the media steers our culture and the way it has control over us?
I try not to pay attention to them too much, but I mean, I know a lot of people do. And like, for instance, I've been preaching Bitcoin since $37. I've been saying, why the fuck isn't that on the news? Like,
right.
Why aren't they telling people about this? Like, when Bitcoin has a couple $1,000 gains in one day, why isn't that like headlines? Bitcoin's up a few $1,000.
But it's a headline when it crashes.
It's only a headline when it crashes. And that just shows you, why do you listen to those fucks?
Yeah, well, and that shows you who's in control of those fucking idiots, because it's all big corporations, these big conglomerates that have people at the head of them that are telling them what they can and can't say. So when there's these massive things that are going on in the world that are going to change our lives for the better, they only choose to focus on the things that are fucking tearing us apart. And it, like, this divide and conquer mentality that exists all throughout the things that really have control over us right now. And it's politics in general, the news media, and social media. So that's the fucking biggest thing that I can point out in any common point in all three of those things is divide and conquer, and figure out what's fucking pissing this person off and put it right in front of them. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. So when it comes to, the media and the current giants trying to hide this new technology from us.
Yeah.
My grandparents, they use Merrill Lynch for their investments or whatever.
Right.
And a few years ago, this was back when Bitcoin was a couple $100, $200, $300. I sat in a meeting where they were talking about their investments. They Coca-Cola stocks, Johnson & Johnson stocks, and
the basic shit.
Yeah, so, and I'm like, listen, you guys got to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum. Like, Ethereum's probably like $9 at the time.
Right.
Bitcoin was like $300. They look at me like I have three heads. I'm handing them like Bitcoin pamphlets and stuff. Now, they have a notice from the upper-ups, I don't know, whoever it is, but they're not allowed to ever advise their customers or their clients to invest in cryptocurrencies.
But fucking Coca-Cola's any better?
Yeah, but this one thing that So Bitcoin, if you look at it in the last 9 years, it is the single-handed best investment in human history.
Yeah.
If you put $1 into Bitcoin in 2009, you made millions of dollars.
The ROI
in
is fucking
2009.
incredible.
Yeah, it's retarded. But like when it comes down to it, it's the single best investment in human history. And now these guys who are professional financial advisors are not allowed to talk about it.
It says it all right there, man. And it's a shame that, like, especially when you think, of grandma and grandpa and the people that are like the people that have probably had the biggest impact on your life, and you see these fucking these shrills that are in charge of their finances that are only doing like whatever the guy above them says to do, and it's like it just makes me feel like we're constantly just suffocated and just put into this box of the structure of what you should do with your money and where you should spend this and how you should handle everything. Like, we have so much more opportunity than we even realize, and the amount of opportunity we already have is incredible in and of itself. But then when you look at all these other opportunities that are just glanced over or not talked about because it's not good for the company, it's just I don't know, it's upsetting.
Yeah,
I think we could do a lot better. And seeing just the way the news controls every part of our conversation now. If only they could put something that would really benefit us into that 60-minute segment before the next asshole comes on and says the same thing. It's just, we need something different. And I think that in this blockchain community, in this whole thing, we might be able to find it if we could just find the whole thing.
Let's just start decentralizing everything, decentralizing the TV programs we see. I like to see, I don't know if you saw in SpaceX, they're recently launching.
Yeah, the Falcon Heavy.
Well, that too, but that was awesome. But they're launching satellites in the future, which are gonna hold broadband for the whole world eventually.
Shit.
So hopefully in the future, the complete internet will be free for everybody on Earth. But
yeah, that's always interesting.
I don't know if it'll be free, but it'll be available.
Right. And what else was I thinking about? Like, just the way we like you have to pay for Wi-Fi or like do all these different things. Like, I'm trying to think of what the actual thought that I had, but I just feel like they have, just like data. That's what I was just data in and of itself, in the way that cell phone companies went from charging like this crazy amount of money to have whatever kind of data plan, and then next thing you know, unlimited data was the same as the 1 gig before, or whatever the hell. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, how is it that it's taken so long for us to be able to afford? Is it the research and development of it, you think, or do you think they've just kind of been holding out on what they already have available? Like, why was data so expensive?
It was definitely just the research. They didn't have the.
All right.
I mean, because you look at like the storage capacity of like a flash drive back in the day, and like 1 gigabyte was so much, and now it's like you have 1 terabyte, and that's even like not that much.
Admittedly, I say this from a place of ignorance, that I don't really know what it takes to handle that amount of the processing and the data and all that. I mean, I'm sure it could have costed what it was supposed to. I don't know, but it's just interesting to me, like the way. I mean, maybe it's just evolution. Maybe it's just where we're headed now. Where do you think? So you think that this could lead to us having a decentralized way of life?
I hope so.
If
that's the plan. That's the plan. That's
is
where we're trying for.
Yeah, and this is what made me like think that it couldn't fucking be anything. Like, I hate to say it, and I'm happy that it is, and I'm happy to see what's happening with it, but my basic mind said there's no way this will work. And how do you think governments will allow this thing to thrive? Like, because it's going to promote a decentralized way of thinking, and that could mean that they're going to lose their jobs one day. And I hope that's what
the plan.
Yeah, like that's what I would want to see. But how far do you think it goes before somebody at the top, whoever the theoretical top is, says no and just drops the hammer?
They're scrambling now. They're scrambling, and they're trying to drop the hammer, but they just, where do you drop the hammer? How do you drop the hammer?
It's growing too fast.
What do you stop?
Right.
What is there to stop? It's a decentralized platform. Or do you go take computers away from everybody who has nodes running? Like, it's crazy. There's no way of stopping it. It's just there now, and it's growing, and more people are learning about it. And
right.
Hopefully, people are learning about it from this talk right here. Hopefully, we get some more people into it.
Yeah. I mean, anything that makes Mark Zuckerberg fucking scramble makes me happy. I don't know why.
So Mark Zuckerberg made billions of dollars on all of our content.
Yeah.
He made billions of dollars from us posting on his website
And collecting data.
and collecting data and selling it.
Yeah.
But so STEAM is going to make millionaires, a bunch of millionaires. So like Facebook made one billionaire. STEAM is going to make a bunch of millionaires.
That's true. It's a reverse psychology of
It
what
is.
Zuckerberg is doing.
It is. Because people are now going to have control of their own content. And the thing is, it's going to make. I heard one guy say that in the next 10 years, Ethereum is going to make the most millionaires out of any crypto or out of anything. But I honestly think Steam will, because it just has that utility that other blockchains don't have. And
So-
it has that familiarity that, people could jump on without knowing anything about it.
Yeah, you're right, because we're used to that kind of platform where you're posting things. I think with Ethereum, that's more of like obviously it's all an investment to some degree, but Ethereum is more of a direct investment. Where, if I'm understanding correctly, Steam is more of just a organic way of accumulating.
Yeah, so Steam is like it was one of the first cryptocurrencies that was able to run smart contracts. And smart contracts was a way for people to create basically a sub token or a sub layer on the same blockchain. And now you're seeing cool things come up on the Ethereum platform, such as crypto kitties, or
Yeah, I heard something about
there's
that.
this one called Aethia, which is like an Ethergotchi, and this Tamagotchi on the
Right.
Ethereum network. You got to keep this egg alive, and like you could then breed the egg and sell it for Ethereum, and like there's a
Holy
market
shit,
for
man.
it. Like it's gonna change games. It's gonna gaming on the internet where you earn play money. You're gonna be earning tokens. You're gonna be earning cryptocurrency tokens that you could actually trade for bitcoins, for anything on external markets.
This
It's gonna
is
be
wild,
crazy.
man.
It
Like-
is the internet 2.0. It's
I
crazy.
had no, like, going into this conversation, I just thought like crypto. I know like all these little terms like Ethereum and Bitcoin and blockchain. Like those were probably the three fucking things that I knew walking into this, and I didn't realize that it was this massive thing. Like it to me, it just seemed like an investment platform or a currency and all
So
that.
that is what a lot of people see it as, and the people who look at it that way are honestly gonna have trouble.
Yeah.
They're gonna, because as you saw, Bitcoin was at $20,000. Now it's at $10,000.
Yep.
And the people who bought in at 17, 18 lost. They think they lost $8,000, and they're upset.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my God, this is a scam."
Yeah, but a loss isn't realized till it's
It
sold.
crashed. It's not realized it's sold, and you shouldn't sell ever because it's gonna keep going up.
Yeah, I know
But-
a lot of kids that got in there at 17, 18, whatever. I felt bad for them, but I was kind of like,
Tell them to hold. So like, the situation back in 2014, Bitcoin went from $1,200 down to $200, and my dad, every time like I'd talk to him about Bitcoin, he would be like, "But what about those people who bought it at 1,200? What are they gonna do?" And I'm like, "They're gonna hold, and if they hold, they'll be completely fine." And like $1,200, that was how long ago was that?
Right.
You know? If you hold on, you'll be fine. Especially, don't ever sell for a loss.
no, ever. I think, in my opinion.
Especially when you're dealing with something deflationary that over time the supply is going to run out and it's going to be spread out
Yeah.
across.
So what do you think? I mean, and I really I'm realizing I don't understand a lot about currency, and I mean I understand inflation, deflation. So with there being a certain amount of this Bitcoin or of any of these fixed currencies, what is that? How does that work on the currency itself? What's that long-term impact? So you said there's 21 million Bitcoins available. So that means with the less of a demand, the less of a supply, the demand goes up. So that increases the value of it.
So it'll increase the value of one Bitcoin, but overall people will be using, say, a denomination. So it could be like 0.0001 Bitcoins.
I just
or-
bought
and-
0.002
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah, and that'll be like, so the smallest Bitcoin denomination is called a Satoshi, and it's like 0.000, I don't know how many
Right.
zeros. It's 0.001, and basically people will be using those instead of Bitcoins because one Bitcoin will be worth potentially $1 million. You know,
So many layers to this. And that's all. It's awesome because it makes it more viable, right? Because when Bitcoin is reaching, like you maybe projected 300,000 or something like that.
But yeah, I do want to touch on that. People that are coming in just to try to make a lot of money, they're coming in for the wrong reason.
Right.
You got to be. I mean, I don't want to tell you what to do, but you got to be in it for the movement and what it stands for.
I think you're right.
The whole thing, you know.
And that's what I don't mean to cut you off if I am, but that's why I started to ask you before, like, are you driven more towards wealth or like your perceived sense of success and whatever that definition of success is for you? Because a lot of people are seeing this as an opportunity to get rich, but you're seeing it more as moving with this whole entire movement in and of itself.
Yeah, the wealth is just a side effect, and it's a great side effect, I must say. But but I mean, yeah, I think that the whole thing that it stands for, the whole decentralization of the financial system, is what I'm in it for.
See, that to you is invaluable, right?
Yeah,
so the Bitcoin, all of that has a fixed dollar amount, but
that's why at it's $37, $70, I saw it as something that this is awesome, and like it could potentially go to $1,000. And when I was saying that at $100 a pop, people thought I was crazy. Like, yeah, okay, this you go to $1,000, it's only $100. Now it's at $10,000. It's like, holy shit,
man! Everybody that says anything really doesn't know anything.
No one knows anything. I don't know anything. Don't listen to me.
No, I
don't
know.
listen to anything I said today.
Right.
No, but if you listen to one thing, get a STEEM account and
Yeah.
follow me, and I'll follow you, and I'll give you upvotes, and it'll be great.
Fuck, dude, this is like, it's a mind blowing thing. I think it's gonna take. I don't even know how long it's gonna take for society, for our culture to wrap their head around what's actually going on. I mean, let's look at it this way. I'm trying to think of an analogy for this. So, dot-com boom started mid-early 90s, right? Or really kind of towards the late 90s. So now we're looking at about 20 years, and now, is your grandma or grandpa, anybody older on Facebook in your family?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so that's my gauge here. And that's taken probably an additional fucking 10 years that it took for them to get onto Facebook, right? So these things slowly work their way into culture. So even if it's been all in all 20 years of nearly a generation to have your grandparents now onto Facebook and really in tune with all this, I think maybe it'll take another 20 years for all of this to really manifest in the way it's going to.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years from now, I could see a world completely enveloped in tokenized internet. You know, every single facet of the internet will be tokenized in a way, because it's happening right now so fast. It's like you're seeing. I recently got an account it's called earn.com. It's interesting. It's called, it's an email address that you set up, and if anybody wants to contact you, they have to pay you to get in touch with you for a reply. And I see it as valuable for, you know, like journalists or something, or somebody who has an expertise in a certain field, and say journalists want to get in touch with them. They could monetize their responses.
So how do they monetize it?
Basically, if you want a response from me in an email, you send me an email, and it costs you $0.000, like $1 worth of Bitcoin in order for me to respond.
So it's creating a whole different exchange of the currency through an exchange of information.
And I can see that valuable in a whole bunch of fields. Like, you're familiar with construction and stuff, like the bidding process, like for jobs, like sending out emails, invitations. Like if you want to get in touch with us, it's $1, or like you know, like, and it's just a tokenizing emails. It's tokenizing communications on the internet.
Holy shit, man! And that, wow. So I'm like stuttering because I'm realizing that email marketing, right? Like when we first started doing dial-up and emailing and all of that, like the people, I don't know if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk at all, if you heard of him. He's a really eccentric guy that you've probably seen on Facebook, talks business and kind of motivation. But he's not one of those fucking fugazi guys. Like he's legit. Like he's and that's another trend that I'm seeing is just the self-help industries blowing up with people that don't even know how to help themselves. It's funny to me, but this guy Gary V, he talks about how he had a business that he started in his family business. It was a liquor store, right? So his dad was an immigrant family, did the immigrant thing, right? Started like a corner store or a liquor store, that kind of a thing. And he was working for his father and just doing bullshit with the wine and all that. And he figured out a way to, once the internet got big and it was emailing and all of that, that he would do email marketing for the business. And then that slowly developed into the new ways of just marketing in general with the internet. And it took his family business from, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it exponentially grew from, maybe $1 million business into a $15 million business within a year. And that was through just email marketing tactics. So to hear this now, like I'm really starting to maybe get a grasp on this. That's probably what's happening right here, is that I'm seeing the potential of this by relating it to something that had already blown by me, right? Because you made a good point. I was born in 91. Seems you were born in 91 too, right?
92.
92,
Close
all right. So a lot of this shit blew by us, right? Like we were just too young to understand and didn't even have, like, people always would say, oh, if only I invested in Apple, right? You hear that from somebody that's probably 20 years older than you, or even us, right? If we talk about a time machine effect where we can go back and really invest into Amazon or Apple, all these companies that really we kind of lost our chance. We missed the boat. Is this the next boat, you think? Like this whole industry, this whole thing.
Investing in Apple is like, oh my God, compared to what I could have made on investing in Bitcoin, it's just like,
well, yeah,
it's like nothing. Like
right.
the amount of I forget, I can't say this with fact because I don't really remember the numbers, but I remember hearing that like if you invested $100 in Apple back in 1970 or something, I don't know, whenever Apple came out,
yeah,
it would be like $17,000 or something. But if you invested $100 in a Bitcoin in 2010 or something, it'd be like $4 million or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy proportionate. But
it's that, dude, that increase, all that, like that was just amazing to me to see anything go from. I mean, I didn't know of it until probably it was worth about $1,000 a pop for Bitcoin. But even to see it go to 16 to 20,000, that's just fucking astronomical return. All right, man. Listen, dude. So podcast is moving, right? And
yes, sir.
You are my crypto guy now, whether you like it or not.
Okay, I'll take it.
So I'm hoping I'm moving out to Hamden. So I'm hoping you're willing to make that commute.
Yeah, it's nothing to me.
All right.
That's, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it really isn't bad. I'm hoping it's not bad. Fuck, I got to drive to work to Milford every day. So in any event, Jeff, really appreciate you coming on.
No, I appreciate you having me. I was honored to
without a
get that
doubt.
message saying, hey, you want to be on?
Yeah, dude, and that's a good way to kind of wrap up how all this shit has an effect on us, right? So social media, I haven't talked to you probably in years, realistically. I sent a message and now you're here. Next thing you know, we could be sending an email and I could be tokenizing the email. Like, we could make money.
Don't worry, I won't charge you for any emails.
Where could anyone find you, right? So you have, what platforms are you on? Steam it?
Steemit.com/Jeff Jagoe. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, all Jeff Jagoe.
All Jeff Jagoe.
But Steam is the best place to find me because, you reached out to me and I could pay you.
No, you know what? Fuck that. Fuck Instagram, fuck Facebook. Find them on Steam it because that's where everyone needs to be anyway. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.